Good evening and welcome to Live from the Imperial Center. I am Brooke Edwards, the Artistic and Managing Director of the theater at the Imperial Center. And tonight, instead of our regular variety show, we are having the first installment of our third annual Local Playwrights Staged Reading Series. Tonight, we will be reading 3 one-acts from 3 local writers. As well as you seeing it here streaming, there is a live watch party, socially distanced, at Lorraine Coffee Shop downtown on Washington Street, where our playwrights are at, and you are welcome to go down there, and we will be having a talk back with the playwrights afterwards. Or you can also type in questions if you have any questions for our playwrights. And the first play we will be reading this evening will be Come Back, Mr. Lincoln, written by Leela Chesson. And this is our cast.
Ivan Price, I'll be playing Abraham Lincoln.
And I'm Sandy Suggs, and I'll be Darby.
Doug Geating, and I play Charles.
Come Back, Mr. Lincoln, by Leela Chesson. The setting is the kitchen of the Harrison home. Time is the present. A sorrow-worn president from yesterday brings words of hope to heartsick parents of today. Clad in pajamas, Darby is sleeping, her head on the kitchen table, her rumpled robe on the back of the other chair. Charles, dressed in coat and tie, enters and turns on the table lamp. Darby shades her eyes from her hand, raises her head, and looks up at him.
How long have you been asleep at the table, honey? I heard you get up earlier in the night, but you came back to bed. I didn't know you got up again.
Oh, I couldn't sleep. I just can't handle the nights. I can't seem to handle the days either.
Try to remember what Mike and Sherry told us, that it won't always be like this. It won't always hurt as much as it does right now.
I can't think of anything but John. And every morning when I wake up, I'm right back in that hospital again.
Charles sits across from his wife.
I dreamed about him again last night.
Oh, he never comes to me in a dream. I haven't seen him anywhere. I just want some kind of sign from him, something that lets me know he's all right. Yesterday, I kept looking up at the sky, hoping I'd find a message in the clouds.
He was a lot younger in my dream. He was playing in a Little League game. Somehow I knew he was sick, that he wasn't going to live much longer. After the first inning, the coach took him out. I was furious, but I didn't say anything. I just watched John sitting on the bench. He looked so disappointed, and I knew he could hit the ball better than anyone else. When the game was over, I went over and hugged him. And I could smell him. I could smell my boy.
Well, it's easy to analyze that dream. John was too young to die. And he played life better than so many others who are still in the game. And it's not right that he got pulled out. It's not. It's cruel. It's so cruel.
Charles moves more closely towards Darby.
I'm worried about you, Darby. You haven't been sleeping well. You haven't been working at your desk much either.
No, I haven't. And I'm too tired to go to that breakfast with you this morning. I don't want to go to a library fundraiser. I don't want to eat anything. I don't want to talk to anyone. And I don't want to smile.
I hear you, honey. But it might help you to think about something else. And we could leave before the crowd leaves. Buzzy's a wonderful speaker. He's going to talk about Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln in the White House.
I'm leaving Mr. Lincoln to you, Charles. You're the history buff, not me. I did write a check to the library last night. It's on the chest by the door. Just give it to Susie and tell her I'm catching up on my rest. She'll understand.
I'll tell her. And you'll go back to bed, right?
Right. And you can tell me about Mr. Lincoln later, Charles. I love you.
Love you too.
He stands, plants a quick kiss on her cheek, appears to pick up the check and exits. She turns off the table lamp, lowers her head on the table, and goes back to sleep. Time passes. Darby hears a knock on the door. She raises her head, lowers it again in her drowsiness. The knocking is persistent. She turns on the lamp and looks toward the door. She grabs the robe, wraps it around her shoulders, and walks in her bare feet to the door.
Who is it?
A warm but unfamiliar voice replies from the other side.
It's a friend, Mrs. Harrison. A friend. May I visit with you?
A friend?
Yes, it's Abe. Abe Lincoln. I'll only be a few minutes.
Darby cautiously opens the door. There he stands, Abraham Lincoln in his stovepipe hat, tall and confident. Uncomfortable in her sleeping attire, Darby wraps her robe more securely around her body and ties the sash.
Mr. Lincoln, I can't believe it's you. I'm afraid I'm not very presentable this morning. I didn't know you were coming. Did you leave a message on my phone?
A message on your what? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Did you call me, Mr. Lincoln? Did you call?
No, I've never called on you, Mrs. Harrison. I've never come to your door. I'm sorry if this isn't a good time to be calling on you, but I've wanted so much to visit with you.
Darby, in her awkwardness, continues to stand before him.
May I come in, Mrs. Harrison?
Darby realizes she's blocking the door.
Oh, yes, of course. Come in.
She steps aside and motions for him to enter. He doesn't hesitate. He walks ahead of her, goes straight to the table, pulls out a chair for her, then sits with her.
Would you like some coffee, Mr. President?
No, thank you. I think I'm done with those kinds of things.
He removes his hat and places it in the middle of the table, a centerpiece from the 1860s.
That hat. That's how I knew it was you.
I hate wearing that thing, keeping up with it, I tell you that. But the people have always expected me to wear it, so I still do.
It's a lot to keep on top of your head.
Well, it's been good for my papers, I'll say that.
Good for your papers. How's that, Mr. Lincoln?
I've always kept my special papers rolled up in here.
He pulls the hat to him, turns it over, retrieves a couple of papers.
I still have a few, see?
He returns the papers to his hat.
Well, maybe you need a briefcase, Mr. Lincoln.
He looks at her with puzzlement.
A brief what?
Oh, nothing, Mr. President, nothing. I'm just amazed you're sitting here, right here in this room. I can't tell you how honored I am to be in your company.
I appreciate those kind words, Mrs. Harrison. You and your family have been much on my mind, much on my heart. I've wanted to come before now, but the list of names is really long. So many parents to visit. So much sadness, you know.
Darby is unable to respond. He looks around the kitchen while Darby searches for something to say.
I've been to the Lincoln Monument, Mr. President. It's magnificent. It says so much about the wonderful things you did for our country, all that you stood for.
A monument? Where?
In Washington.
Where I worked?
Yes, haven't you seen it?
No, haven't been there.
Darby remembers the pocket change Charles has collected in the jar near the table. She stands, retrieves a handful of pennies from somewhere behind her, and hands them to him.
Charles keeps his spare change in a jar. Have you seen our Lincoln pennies? Have you seen them, Mr. Lincoln?
No, haven't seen them.
Darby sits down as he pulls a coin into closer view.
That's me. That's my head.
That's you, all right. That's your head. These pennies are all over the United States. Everybody has some Lincoln pennies.
He looks amused, shakes his head in disbelief.
Turn it over, Mr. Lincoln. You can see the monument on the back side. If we had a magnifying glass, you'd be able to see yourself sitting right there in your chair inside that monument. You're sitting in your chair on the back of every one of those Lincoln pennies.
Again, he looks more closely at a penny, shakes his head.
I must be going now. I've made visits in 19 of our states, 19 of the 20. Just one more to go, and I'll have been to every one of our states.
We have 50 states now, Mr. Lincoln. 50.
Say what? 50 what?
Oh, nothing, Mr. Lincoln. Never mind. I'd love for you to stay a little longer. My husband will be home soon, and he so admires your words. Sometimes in the car, on trips, he recites your Gettysburg Address. Lately, he seems focused on the part about, "We highly resolve that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." Oh, the things you did. The words you said live on, Mr. Lincoln.
And that's wonderful to know. And now I have a few special words for you before I go.
He pauses, looks into her eyes, and speaks in a warm, deliberate manner.
In this sad world of ours, sorrow comes to all. You cannot now believe that you will ever feel better, Mrs. Harrison, but this is not true. You are sure to be happy again. Knowing this, believing it, will make you less miserable now. I have had enough experience to make this statement.
I cannot believe I'll ever be happy again.
Maybe we don't have to be happy, Mrs. Harrison, but we do have to step forward. We have to go to work. There are things we must do for our nation, for the people of our nation.
Darby doesn't respond. He stands, she also stands, and follows him to the door.
I do thank you for coming, for caring about me and my family, Mr. President. Please come back whenever you can.
He smiles, nods, and leaves. She watches him walk away and calls to him.
Come back again soon, Mr. Lincoln. Come back.
Darby returns to the table, turns off the light, and talks in her sleep. Time passes.
Come back. Come back, Mr. Lincoln.
Charles returns. He turns on the light. Darby raises her sleepy head, speaks in drowsy manner.
Come back. Please come back.
I'm back, Darby. I'm back. Everything's fine. What's going on with you? Are you still here at the table?
Darby looks up, sees Charles hovering above her. He sits beside her.
I saw him, Charles. I saw him.
You saw John. You saw John in a dream.
No. I saw Mr. Lincoln. I saw Abraham Lincoln.
Charles tussles Darby's hair and smiles.
Well, you'll have to tell me about that. Sit up, Darby. Talk to me.
Oh, I'm sleepy.
I want to hear about your dream.
Takes her hand in his. She sits up in her chair.
I want to hear about your dream, and you need to talk about it too. Then I'll fix you a sandwich before I go back to the office.
Oh, Mr. Lincoln is so full of compassion, Charles. And he's been thinking about us.
Lincoln will always be remembered for his compassion and his marvelous character traits, his honesty, his humility, his empathy. Those traits are what make a great president.
But it was all a dream. He didn't really come.
Charles smiles and rubs his hand across her cheek in a comforting gesture.
How do you know? Maybe he was here.
No, I knew it wasn't him when I saw his eyes. His eyes are a dark, piercing shade of blue, sky blue. The real Mr. Lincoln had dark eyes, dark black eyes.
How do you know that?
Well, I've seen pictures of him. All those pictures in the history books. His eyes were dark black.
Charles smiles, pats her hand again.
All the pictures in our history books back then, in the 40s, were black and white, Darby. We didn't have any colorful history textbooks. Everybody's eyes were dark black in those photos.
Maybe so. How was the breakfast, the program?
Very inspirational. Buzzy focused on that week in the White House when Willie Lincoln died.
Willie?
The Lincolns' 11-year-old son. Willie died in the White House, and the Lincolns had another son, Eddie, a 3-year-old, who died before Willie was born.
2 sons who died? How did they ever move ahead, Charles? How did they?
I don't think Mary Todd ever moved forward. Lincoln suffered depression too, but his challenges seemed to grace him with a special understanding of the struggles of others. And Buzzy talked about the president's leadership during those sad White House days. How, while little Willie's body lying close by in the green room, Mr. Lincoln would go weeping into his office. He didn't stop working for our nation and our people while he grieved.
Charles pulls the breakfast program from his jacket pocket.
And there's this moving quotation printed on the back of the program. I'm going to post it on our bathroom mirror so we'll see it every morning. Lincoln's words will give us hope.
Charles reads the quotation.
In this sad world of ours, sorrow comes to all. It often comes with bitter agony. Perfect relief is not possible except with time. You cannot now believe that you will ever feel better, but this is not true. You are sure to be happy again. Knowing this, believing it, will make you less miserable now. I've had enough experience to make this statement. Now look at the program cover. It's a miniature version of the large, colorful portrait of Lincoln presented to the library at the end of the meeting.
Darby takes the program, looks closely at the front cover.
It is a striking portrait of his face, his high cheekbones, his wrinkles, his eyes.
She looks at the program cover again and searches for her glasses.
My glasses, Charles. Pass me my glasses.
Charles passes the glasses to her. She puts them on, looks more closely at the cover.
Charles! Charles!
She returns the program to Charles and looks into her husband's face.
What is it?
Mr. Lincoln's eyes. His eyes are blue, Charles. Mr. Lincoln's eyes are sky blue.
They stand and gently embrace. The end. And now we will do a reading of our second show for the night of a new play called Scars by Catherine Bortner. And our cast:
Travis Reed.
I'm Sandy Suggs.
Chloe Chappelle,
Nicole Bellamy.
Caitlin Rita.
Scars by Catherine Bortner. Scars is a series of monologues and scenes that examine not only physical scars and the interesting ways we all acquired them, but also the emotional and psychological scars that we humans carry with us and shape who we are. Unless specifically required by the language of the scene, the gender and ethnicity of each character can be adapted to fit the production. The set is simple: a desk, a chair, couch, table, etc., as needed, or it can be staged with levels that each speaker inhabits during their time on stage. The primary must for this play is a screen and/or projection wall. Each scene should have its own unique images projected during their time on stage. The images should enhance the speaker's story but not upstage their words. Images selected can vary with each production based on the vision of their director and actors. The first image is projected. Voices emerge from the blackout. The only light comes from the projections. All actors are in silhouette.
Some scars are on the outside for all to see.
Some scars are on the inside, hidden from all but me.
No one makes it through life without some sort of mark.
All have a story, be they happy or dark.
My scar's on my knee from a fall off my bike.
Mine's on my heart when they called me a dyke.
I was a fat teen who hid from them all.
I always felt outcast because I was tall.
My scars are from dieting, stretch stripes they're called.
They pointed and they mocked me. They laughed when I bawled.
Here now are some stories of what we all share.
We stand here before you, our blemishes bare.
One of the guys.
Scars? Fuck, I don't know. I have big brothers. Does that count? They left some scars. I used to like to make rhymes that annoyed them, I guess. Sometimes I'd start rhyming and I couldn't stop. I'd say, Joe don't know that he's a big mo, or Jerry, big fat fairy. Calling a guy gay or just rhyming it was grounds for a beating. There was that time Joe hit me in the balls with his dollar store golf club, or the time he blindfolded me and ran me into every tree he could find, or the time he pulled me in a wagon so hard I flew out the back and literally bounced down the road. Then there was the time Jerry convinced me we could give ourselves tattoos if we rubbed erasers really hard on our arms until they bled. I went first. Well, I still have one. My brother Mitt used to get really pissed when I'd follow him around. Most of anybody, my rhymes drove him crazy. I'd say, hey there, Mitt, you got a big zit. Or when the other guys were listening, I'd say, hey, Mitt, you big-ass shit. I just wanted to be one of the guys. Then there was that summer I was home from boot camp, and we all played drink and spin. You know, that game where you drink a beer really quick and then spin around with your head on a bat or something. And then you're supposed to try and find your glass and drink again. Well, usually you just throw up. That's what they all did. But not me. I stood right up and chugged the rest of my beer and smushed the can onto my forehead. I woke up in the emergency room right after that one, with the coolest set of stitches you've ever seen, forming a circle right near my nose, right in the middle of my face. Yeah, being the youngest leaves scars. I guess it can be said that I have scars from my balls to my head.
Tiny and Bam.
I'm a twin. We was born 10 minutes apart. Bam was first. Nobody knew I was there because Bam was so big and I was so little. Mommy named us Ronald and Matilda, but everybody called us Bam and Tiny. Aunt TT says Bam took up all the room inside Mommy's belly. She said he was always wrapped around me and I didn't get enough food from Mommy and couldn't move around. The doctor almost didn't see I was still inside after Bam came out. Kind of like Bam hid me. He's always been like that, always protecting me from the big kids and bullies. When we was growing up, Mommy and TT were all we knew. But TT didn't live with us, and she and Mommy yelled at each other a lot when she was at our home. Mommy worked all day and wanted the house quiet at night when she was home. Sometimes some of her friends would come over and they'd all sit around the house. Mommy said we had to stay out of their way. Me and Bam would whisper and giggle in our room. He'd tell me jokes, and sometimes I laughed so hard I had to stuff my face under Bam's arm so I wouldn't bother Mommy and her friends. Now that I'm older, I know that Mommy's friends brought her drugs and paid her to sleep with them too. But then I just thought grown-ups needed lots of quiet time. That's what Bam said, and I believed it. I still hear Bam's voice saying that in my head. Grown-ups need lots of quiet. One day, when we were 4, Mommy was fighting with TT. They were loud and I was scared. Bam dragged me outside and we hid under a big tree. It was just after Easter and he had 2 chocolate eggs in his hand. We sat under that tree, eating those chocolate eggs and waiting until the fighting was over. Mommy was loud, crying and cussing. So I stuffed my head under Bam's arm like I did when I had the giggles, but this time it blocked out some of the noise. Bam says, "TT gone. Let's wait till Mommy goes to sleep." So we hunkered down, Bam protecting me like always. I woke up later hearing Mommy screaming, "Don't you ever do that to me again!" and dragging me and Bam into the kitchen. "I'll show you how to hide from me." First me, and then Bam got pushed into our oven. I could feel it get hot. Bam wrapped his arms around me, and I shoved my head under his arm. It got hotter. All I could feel was burn on my leg, and Bam's hugging me tight. But he kept saying my name, Tiny, 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 Tiny. I think I was crying too, because all I could see was wet, but Mommy's voice had stopped. I don't remember when TT came back, or when the hot went away, or when Bam stopped saying my name. I think I'm still a twin, but now I have this mark on my face and leg, and people point and close their eyes when they see me. They don't see Bam, neither, but I do. I see him every time I see this mark. Bam's gone. I ain't got no brother now, 'cause Bam protected me again. He wrapped his arms around me in that oven. He took up all the room.
Scene of the crime. My best scar's on my butt. I haven't seen it in years because, well, my butt got bigger and it's way back there. It's hard to see it without some serious twisting and a handheld mirror, but I've been assured it's still there. When I was 5, we lived in Carbondale, Illinois. I attended kindergarten in the afternoon session, and my older sister was in the 2nd grade. She walked to school every morning by herself, and Mama picked us both up after school. Mornings were spent alone with Mama. The thing is, Mama had a routine. Each day she allotted a specific task for herself. Monday mornings were for planning the week's meals and making the grocery list. She usually went to the A&P after taking me to school. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Friday, they all ran together. And to be honest, I don't remember her schedule for those days. But every day, we watched her soap. Search for Tomorrow at 11:30, and then left for school right after. Most days, Mama would let me help or watch her activities, but on Mondays I would hear her say, "Go outside and play until Search comes on." One memorable Monday morning, I heard the familiar refrain, "Go outside!" So I did. We had a carport in those days, and Mama and Daddy drove one of those old VW bugs. Oh, I loved that car. It was so cute. I liked to crawl on the back of it and sit on the little hump that covered the license plate. You remember those? This particular day, I was imagining I was having tea with some very grand company. I sat on the hump with my feet clad in spotless school shoes, propped up on the rear bumper. All at once, my feet slipped off the bumper, and I fell off the hump and scraped my butt across the license plate. There was blood everywhere. Now, I forgot to mention that the number 1 rule in our house was, don't sit on cars. And I knew that that included our own. I was going to be in deep trouble. Now, I don't know if you remember Search for Tomorrow, but there was always some disaster happening. And I'd seen quite a few episodes where an incident had occurred. I knew that setting the stage was important, even at age 5, to the believability of my story. So with a slice about 2 inches wide on my hind end that was bleeding like the proverbial stuck pig, I took time to set up a crime scene in our carport. I turned my tricycle on its side. I tossed my sister's Barbies willy-nilly all around. Building blocks were stacked up and subsequently forcibly tumbled in a random pattern, and most importantly, I overturned my plastic cup of apple juice and let it slurp all over the welcome mat at the back door. This truly was a crime scene where something horrible, not involving sitting on a car, for sure, had happened. I looked around. The stage was set. I was sure everything pointed to a tragic tricycle accident and had nothing whatsoever to do with a VW. I hobbled inside, put on my best search for tomorrow tragic figure face, and announced that I had been involved in an accident and I think I was in need of medical treatment. Yes, I've always talked in that formal manner. Mama, I said, it's horrific, but I'm managing it. I believe we should go to the doctor to get a bigger Band-Aid. I thought I was in the clear. But did my mother scoop me up in her arms and bundle me off for emergency care? No. She left me standing there and went out to investigate. I gotta say, she was not fooled. Not for a second. My mother had one of the greatest sense of humors I've ever known, so I shouldn't have been surprised when I heard her full-bodied, honey-tinted, all-knowing belly laugh wafting in through the apple juice-sticky back door. After her laugh died down to the occasional snort, she made me cough up the truth. But she had appreciated my theatrical flair. Later, she took us all for dinner at the IHOP, ice cream sundaes, and a drive-in movie. I stood up in the back of the seat of the VW because, well, I couldn't sit. It was one of the greatest days of my life. That's why I tell this story all the time. Most people won't ever see my butt scar. I try to avoid dropping my drawers in public. But it's a good story. Mama's gone now. Missing and remembering her is another scar, but it can't be seen either. Looked at together, the accident and Mama's validation of my efforts, I think they are two of my fondest memories. I'm an actor because someone who loved me appreciated my creativity. I have a good sense of humor because I learned at the knee of someone who understood that there's humor to be found in all situations. I guess not all scars are negative.
Tramp stamp. Mother and daughter are sitting together at the table. Mother is matching socks. Daughter is making only a little effort to help her. Daughter has something on her mind. There is tension between them. No one talks for a while. Then,
Mom, I didn't try to hurt you.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it either.
both are silent for a few moments.
I don't understand you. You got your ears pierced when you were 13 and your mother hated it, but she got over it. Why can't you see this is no big deal? I'm 17, and besides, everyone I know does it.
And if all your friends were going to jump off
Stop! That is a lame argument. Of course I wouldn't just because everyone else did, but this isn't that. I want to be different from everyone else, and you know that. This is no big deal these days.
Trashy is trashy. It doesn't matter what day it is. What will happen when you're old and wrinkled, or even when you're 30 and not as tight everywhere anymore? Will you still be proud of marking your body? Tattoos are for sailors and for New Guinea natives.
What? Mom, that's racist. Just look at it.
She starts to rise, unbuttoning her jeans.
It's really beautiful, Mom. Come on, keep an open mind.
Good God, where is it?
sees Kelly's tattoo on her lower back.
Kelly, you have no respect for yourself or for me. I brought a beautiful baby into this world with soft, unmarked skin, and now you've ruined it.
Look, it's a butterfly with the words "Live for Life" in Japanese symbols.
She realized that Sabine has stopped looking. She buttons up her jeans and remains standing.
You'll be marked for life, Kelly. That won't wash off. And why in that location? When I was younger, people called a mark in that place a tramp stamp. That is what everyone will think of you. You are scarred, Kelly. No one will ever have any respect for you if you don't respect your own body.
Both women look away in frustration and tension. Sabine back to her socks and Kelly walking away.
Mom, do you respect me?
The end. And now we are back for our final reading of the evening. It is Musical Chairs by Marilyn, Barner, and Selmy. And our cast:
Chloe Chappelle as Jenny.
Daphne Trevathan as Elaine.
My name is Anna Tamasia, and I will be reading Kaylee.
Musical Chairs by Marilyn, Barner, and Selmy. The setting is outside in the present. Though set during COVID, if, hopefully this ever ends, the masks and social distancing should be removed. At Rise, Jenny enters wearing a mask, carrying a laptop and a stuffed handbag. She looks around, assessing the site, nods, and looks off stage left.
This will work.
Enter Kaylee, also masked, carrying 3 folding chairs and her equally overstuffed bag. She sets the chairs down and unfolds them, placing them next to each other.
Kaylee, really?
Kaylee plops her heavy bag down, looks at chairs.
Oh God, I'm so stupid.
Kaylee pulls them apart in a distanced semicircle.
Better?
Jenny pulls out a tape measure from her bag and measures.
Pull that one out. Now the other end.
She measures between chairs.
A little bit more on that end.
She measures between each chair.
Okay, we're at 6 feet between each. Sit there.
She points to last chair. Kaylee sits. Jenny sits on the first chair.
Good. Now, pretend we're just talking. Do I look at you?
Do you look at people when you talk to them? Of course. Relax and just talk. Oh, hey, KK, how's everything?
You never call me that.
Christ, Kaylee. I'm checking if we can hear each other, okay? Hey, Kaylee, how are you?
Okay. Things are weird, I guess.
You can't say that. How am I supposed to respond to that? How are you going to be able to do this if you can't answer the simplest question?
I didn't even want to do...
Okay, sit down. Jeez, I thought you could be natural.
What's natural now?
What's wrong with you? Do I have to tell you how to do everything? Just, I don't know. Ask me about my mom.
You haven't been able to see your mom, and I...
Hell, Kaylee, we're practicing here. Shit. All right. Can you hear me?
Kaylee nods.
Oh, please don't pout. Say something like, we're having a really serious, meaningful conversation.
Kaylee looks blank.
OMG. How about, hey Elaine, I'd really like to know how Black Lives Matter impacts you.
Why would I ask her that?
'Cause that's why we're here. Have you had that discussion with her?
Well, not exactly.
See? That's why as privileged white women, we have to push the boundaries of our experience to delve into our Black friends' worlds.
Elaine isn't your friend. You've never even met her.
That's not the point. I'm addressing our inherent biases, declaring our need to be woke, peeling back the intentional blindness of institutional racism. Or is it institutional blindness of intentional racism? Have to check.
I don't think she's going to like this.
These are difficult but essential discussions we must have. Now, can you hear me okay over there?
Loud and clear.
Jenny takes out a clipboard.
Great. Chair set up and sound check good. Next up, homework. I split up the 13 names on my list and I took the extra for a 7-6 split. So you memorized your 6, right?
Kaylee pulls out her bag.
I tried, but they made me so depressed. I made up cheat sheets like we did in world history, remember?
She pulls out several note cards.
What? No. You are not going to pull out cheat sheets when we're having a deep, soul-searing discussion about race. Hell, I asked you to do one thing, one damn thing.
Memorizing them made me feel sick, like they were nothing but another dumb school assignment. I got a cousin up in Cleveland, same age as Tamir Rice. Could have been him.
No, it couldn't. Don't you see? That's just it. It wouldn't have happened to your cousin because of one huge glaring difference. We've got to blow up our silent consent.
He's mixed race.
Don't make this personal. We're fighting a centuries-old legacy of suppression here.
Seems to me the reason people finally got so mad about George Floyd was because he called out for his mama. We all felt that personally, especially us moms.
Please don't say that to Alicia.
Elaine.
Right. Okay. Guess I'll have to cover your names too. Lucky for us, I know most of them. Maybe Elsa won't notice if I focus mostly on
Her name's Elaine.
Enter Elaine, also wearing a mask.
Kaylee?
They both stand. Kaylee and Elaine approach one another and give sort of air hugs. Both laugh.
Glad you found us. Thanks for doing this.
No problem. But I got to admit, you sounded so weird on the phone, it got my curiosity up.
Yeah, I bet.
Jenny clears her throat.
All right, Elaine, this is Jenny, the one I told you about.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
She sits on far right side.
So, what's up?
Really great to meet you, Elaine. Kaylee's told me so much about you.
Kaylee sits in middle chair.
Cool. So, what's all this?
Elaine, do you mind if I call you that?
No, that's my name.
It's just, we should never, assume we can call you, anyone, condescend to the familiar.
It's cool.
She looks questioning at Kaylee, who shrugs.
Would either of you mind a bit of rearranging?
Huh?
Well, the way we are seating seems to subconsciously adhere to a historically prescribed hierarchy of supremacy.
Is she for real?
Where do you want us, Jenny?
Of course, if you don't mind. Elaine, can you move to the middle? Kaylee to her right, and I'll take this one.
Sits on seat on the far left. Elaine and Kaylee switch seats, shake their heads.
If I knew we were going to be playing musical chairs, I would have worn more comfortable shoes.
I'm sorry about this.
Not like I was busy or anything.
Did Molly finish coloring her last picture?
Girl, she hasn't done anything else. When I told her I was meeting you, she asked if you could bring her the next one.
We'll see if she wants the mermaid or the lion.
Like we need to ask.
Oh, right. Tell her the mermaid's on its way.
You're spoiling that child. Whew, I gotta take this hot thing off.
Elaine removes her mask.
Y'all mind?
We measured. We're far enough apart and outside, so...
She removes her mask also. They look to Jenny, who moves her chair a bit farther away and leaves her mask on.
So, Elaine, thanks so much for meeting with me, us.
Sure.
How long have you two known one another?
You remember, Kay?
I can't remember not knowing you.
What was it they called our neighborhood? Moderate income, something like that.
Remember Aunt Sharon?
How could I forget that cracker?
Biggest racist in town, and all the neighborhood kids called her Aunt Sharon, even the black ones.
Pissed the hell out of her.
You know she ended up marrying a black guy?
No way.
Yep, met him when she became a prison guard after the mill closed.
If that's not proof of human potential, nothing is.
And that's a great segue into our conversation. How does the systematic institutionalization of black males in the prison industrial system impact your population?
Sure made Aunt Sharon pretty damn happy.
Surely you have a more serious reaction.
It sucks. That serious enough for you? Seems to me another form of slavery. You ever been in a prison, Jenny?
Jenny shakes her head.
It's a shithole. I got an uncle and 2 cousins in Central. Can't visit them. They're scared shitless all the time.
So your personal experience reflects the larger national trend?
All I know is what I see.
And how do you react to the Black Lives Matter movement?
How do you react to the Black Lives Matter movement?
I'm outraged. As a society, we have to wake up to this ingrained racism.
Yeah, and when the next equally shitty thing comes along, will you still be reacting to Black Lives Matter?
I don't know what you...
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm glad so many of you are pissed off, but this crap isn't new, Jenny. We've been getting shot and strangled and corralled in prison for decades. You just now paying attention.
I think we're on the same side here, Elaine. Did Kaylee tell you I jogged in the Ahmaud Arbery run we held here in town? Despite the fact my tendinitis was acting up. I didn't set any records, but I finished.
Good for you. How much did you raise?
It was a consciousness-raising event.
I'm sure his mama appreciates your consciousness was raised.
Are you saying it didn't matter?
Did it matter to you?
Of course.
Then I'm glad. But don't go around congratulating yourself for helping his family.
This isn't about helping one particular family. We're talking about impacting all of society.
That's a mighty big goal. Too bad it had to come on the black backs of Michael Brown, Betty Jones, Freddie Gray, Breonna Taylor, Stephon Clark, and all the other ones that never made the news. See, Jenny, this disaster didn't come about recently. We just now bubbling to the surface.
If you don't mind me asking, where were you?
Kaylee begins to stand.
She was...
Stop, Kay. I don't have to alibi myself to her.
I didn't see you there.
Nope, you didn't. I was working my shift at the hospital.
Oh, well, thanks for your service.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cleaning staff is an essential part in this fight.
I'm a nurse assistant?
And going back to school to get her RN.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, you didn't.
And that's exactly why we have to have these painful new discussions.
Oh, Jenny, these discussions aren't new. How long have we been talking about this crap, one way or the other?
Long as we've known each other.
See, Jenny, you can't all of a sudden expect to sit down with us and talk like you're our friend when we haven't been.
I refuse to believe we can't make a difference.
I'm not saying you can't, but you gotta do the little work before you take on the big one.
And what is that exactly, the little work?
Jenny pulls a notebook out of her bag.
Oh, hell, really?
You don't have to...
No, I'm serious. What is it?
I don't, okay. How about an online discussion group? Or a mixed-race book group? Or hell, have you tried looking black people in the eye and speaking when you meet them on the street?
Jenny busily writes down Elaine's suggestions, nodding.
Hey, wanna grab a burger before I head home? I'm starving.
Sure. Oh, wait a sec, Lane.
She reaches toward Elaine's head.
You gotta...
Stop! You can't touch their head.
Kaylee pulls a leaf off Elaine's head.
You got something in your hair.
Thanks. Grandma used to say this is good luck. Shit. Sure could use some about now.
Elaine and Kaylee pull their masks on and leave together. Jenny stands alone. The end. Thank you very much. And if I could ask all of our actors that are here to come out and take a final bow. And thank you for coming and participating. Thank you all so much for participating in this, our third local playwright staged reading series. We'll be back next Friday night for our normal live from Imperial Center variety show. Our first Samuel Beckett radio play will be Thursday, October 1st at 6 p.m., All That Fall. Please tune in to that. And we will be back in October as well for another segment of our staged reading series. And I really wish I had that date for you, but I can't think of what it is right now. Will? Will doesn't know either. My assistant Ben isn't here, and he usually has all that information. Anyway, it's on our website, imperialcenter.org, or our Facebook page, the Imperial Center. Check it out there. It's got the dates for all of our staged reading series evenings, as well as our live from Imperial Center shows, and our Beckett radio play, and our Christmas spectacular that's coming up. And I know that that's December 4th. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you would like to go meet with some of our actors and the playwrights, they are at Lorema Coffee Shop downtown Rocky Mount right now. We are all headed there to discuss the readings and talk with the playwrights. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great weekend.